Hello, everyone. It is my greatest pleasure to welcome you all to our first virtual South Africa event, Plug and Play. For those who don't know me, my name is Karen Arola, and I have been passionately leading Plug and Play's activities in Africa this past year. The schedule for today will start off with a word from our CEO, followed by our keynote speaker. We'll then go through our South Africa plans before 6 exciting startups will present. A few housekeeping items. Please remain muted unless you are presenting. Submit questions using the Q&A button at the bottom of your window, and please complete the poll following each startup presentation. So let's start from the very beginning. The Plug and Play story started out of a small rug shop in Palo Alto, California, where Saeed decided to rent out the office space to some entrepreneurs, and to help them out, he would invest their money back into their company. The first startup happened to be Google, and then Logitech, and then PayPal. Hence, we've called it the Lucky Building. From there, he decided to do it on a larger scale. So he bought out our building in Sunnyvale, and we now have around 500 startups in the building at any time. So what is Plug and Play, you may ask? We have organically grown to become the leading early stage investor with an innovation platform built on a very strong ecosystem of innovators around the world. Our ecosystem consists of over 25,000 startups, 400 corporates, and 180 venture capital partners. We also engage a number of top-tier universities, a large number of very experienced mentors, foundations, as well as governments on our platform. We do all this across the globe at our 36 international locations. Shortly, we'll hear from our country manager, Grace. Grace was born in Limpopo province, South Africa. Whether it was chance or fate, I ran into Grace during one of my trips in South Africa while she was working at Goldman Sachs. I cannot tell you enough how blessed I am to have her on our team. But first, before that, a word from the man who has made all of this possible, our CEO, Saeed Amidi.
It is a great pleasure to come to South Africa, Johannesburg, to launch Plug and Play innovation platform. We have been incredibly successful in Silicon Valley, California, hosting and housing more than 1,000 startups per year. Perhaps you know some of them. We were lucky enough to invest very early in PayPal, then more recently in Dropbox, Lending Club, Honey, etc. We feel the startups and entrepreneurs are the engine of our future. With their technology, their passion, their hard work, they can help us transform our lives to much better lives to come. Even during this COVID-19 challenges, I feel and I look to entrepreneurs to solve our problems. If you can say like Google, which we housed for more than 2 years, was born during the 2007-08 crisis. And I feel there is incredible talent in Africa. We would like to embrace the entrepreneurs there, and when they have a connection to Silicon Valley, to Europe, to France, Frankfurt, Stuttgart, we feel they will have a better chance to build global companies. One example of that is Flutterwave. So going back to South Africa, we would like to invite the largest banks, the largest insurance company. Quite frankly, the largest conglomerates in auto industry, industrial. Because when we go to a country, we connect entrepreneurs with the corporations to build their dream and build a company that can hire many people. We have entrepreneurs that worked in Apple, Intel, HP, Google, Facebook. And together with the government of South Africa, with the corporations in South Africa, with universities that we would like to embrace, we would like to at least help 100 startups per year and build them to become a global companies. Please join me and the incredible team we have to embrace this talent and build the best innovation platform in Africa together. So the most important thing is to bring the foundation, we call it our founding partners together. Then we could diversify in different industries and vertical. And we hope to make Johannesburg our beachhead in Africa and expand into other countries in Africa. And we love to have South Africa join Morocco so we can have one plug and play in the north, one plug and play in south, and work together with all of you to build the bridge, not only to US and Silicon Valley, but to Japan, Europe, Middle East, with our Abu Dhabi and United Arab Emirates headquarters. Again, this is not plug and play innovation platform, it's yours. Let's have a great time together. Thank you.
Thank you very much for taking the time to address our audience, Saeed, and to Karen for the warm welcome. We will now move on to our keynote address. Before we begin, just a quick housekeeping reminder that you can submit questions pertaining to the keynote address by typing in the Q&A tab. We only have about 5 minutes for Q&A, but we will endeavor to ensure as many questions are covered. It is a great honor to have Nick Kotler join us today to hear his perspective on the topic of the importance of global collaboration in innovative solutions to grow the African economy, as well as sharing more on how global corporate SA, governments, and civil society have come together to respond to combating COVID-19 in South Africa. Brief intro about Nick. Nick has been the global head of insurance for Yellowwoods Investments since 2017. Prior to this, Nick spent 20 years at Hollard, the last as Hollard Group CEO. In addition to supporting the Yellowwoods insurance portfolio companies, Nick is actively engaged with the Yellowwoods Inclusive and Sustainable Growth Team on specific financial inclusion and education initiatives, including South Africa's first social bond, Bonds for Jobs. Nick also founded the Ethos Ai Fund together with Roger Grobler and Ethos in 2018. The AI Fund invests in quality businesses that will benefit significantly from the introduction of artificial intelligence technology, and then supports those businesses to ensure successful implementation. Most recently, Nick was co-opted to head up operations at the South African Solidarity Fund, a rapid response vehicle designed to fund impactful initiatives that will augment the national health response, contribute to national humanitarian efforts, and mobilize all South Africans. Nick, impressive resume. Over to you.
Thank you, Grace, and a very good afternoon to you and all of our listeners today. I have an incredible opportunity today to address you at a tragic moment in history, a destructive and challenging moment, an unprecedented moment, I think, that will change some aspects of how we live and work forever, and a moment that will force us to reprioritize so many aspects of our lives. One of the important ways in which this crisis is unprecedented is the fact that it is the whole world that is under pressure. We don't have the usual luxury of having those unaffected nations rushing to the aid of the unfortunate. We're all affected, and we're all struggling to address the pandemic on our home front. And yet, as I will touch on later, we've seen many countries doing their level best to help others, even when they can ill afford to. In South Africa, we are fortunate initially to have had very decisive leadership from our president, and we were recognized by the World Health Organization as one of the best performing countries in the early stages of the pandemic. One wonders whether in future we will feel quite so proud of what has transpired over the 2 weeks that followed the hard lockdown, but time will tell. As Karen said, I was drafted, or as Grace said, sorry, I was drafted to head operations for the South African Solidarity Fund. And while this has been enormously challenging and frankly exhausting, it's also been extremely rewarding. So I'd like to use the opportunity to share some of my reflections on the establishment of the fund. Firstly, a bit about the fund. Grace described it to you briefly. It was announced almost 8 weeks ago by our president as a vehicle for all South Africans to contribute to one consolidated effort to combat the effects of COVID-19. In our 8-week existence, we've moved with great speed to create an institution with very strong governance, an institution with a fundraising engine that has landed over 1,000 corporate and foundation donors, and over 175,000 individual donations amounting to almost 2.8 billion rand. As a fund, we have 3 areas of focus. Firstly, there's our health response, where we aim to augment the efforts of the public and private health sectors to prepare the health system, the burden that will be placed on it by the pandemic. And in that regard, we have committed over 1 billion rand for the procurement of PPE for frontline health workers in hospitals and clinics, as well as for community health workers doing mass screening and testing. We've committed 250 million rand to the National Health Laboratory Services to buy 400,000 test kits, effectively doubling their testing capacity. Base of ventilation systems, with the objective of enabling the manufacturing of 10,000 of these units before the peak of the pandemic in South Africa. Secondly, our humanitarian effort, where we are focused on food security and hunger relief. So far, we've spent 120 million rand on what amounts to the largest single food relief program mounted in this country. We have delivered 270,000 food parcels to the most vulnerable families across all 9 provinces, working with the Department of Social Development, 4 of the largest NGOs in this arena, and over 400 faith and community-based organizations. We're also now working with the South African Council of Churches to provide food and cash vouchers to 50,000 families to augment this effort. A very important role for technology in this is the provision of those vouchers, the allocation and the use. Thirdly, our solidarity campaign, where we aim to inspire South Africans to work together to combat the effects of the pandemic. This is not something that government can do on its own, and so we all need to pull together. And very importantly, we are leveraging the campaign as well to educate communities on the behaviors that are required to reduce transmission. And all of this, remarkably, has been achieved by a virtual team of some 92 people, some full-time, some part-time, all volunteers and secondees, companies that are leaning in to provide us with services of some sort: audit services, legal services, fund admin, website development, procurement, PR, and so on. And although we are independent, we work very closely with government and with business so that we can support one consolidated effort. And that means managing lots of diverse stakeholders. And all of this has been done pro bono to date. So in 8 short weeks, we've built a rapid response, efficient, frictionless system that is able to direct 100% of the donations we receive to the intended causes and beneficiaries. The most remarkable thing for me in all of this is this has all been achieved without anyone actually having met each other face to face. No in-person team meetings, no conferences, no team building. For the South Africans out there, no bosparats. And of course, this would not have been possible without the benefit of recently developed technology. Video conferencing platforms, file sharing platforms, collaboration systems. And very importantly, I've discovered intuitive user interfaces. So all of us can quite quickly get up to speed with platforms that we've never used before and start contributing immediately. And I must say that it feels certain to me that we will never go back to our old way of doing things. And of course, this is not the only role that technology is playing in the fight against the pandemic. We see the benefits of technology in research, starting with the rapid sequencing of the virus's genome, in the rapid development of treatment protocols and hopefully vaccines in the near future, in the development of new medical technology such as ventilators that are more cost-effective and easier to use. Very importantly, we see use of technology in forecasting, modeling, planning, and that enables better decision-making. We see the use of technology in contact tracing, in the distribution of aid, and even in remote education aimed at flattening the curve. And I'm sure I'm just touching on the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg there. And many of these are collaborative efforts spanning great distances. At the Solidarity Fund, I was amazed to learn about a week into my tenure there that some of the people that I'd been working with on a daily basis actually weren't even based in South Africa. We've got people leaning in from as far afield as London, Italy, and New York. And it felt to me like we were all just in Joburg. I think many of these changes will become permanent. The new ways of working, for example, I think are going to change our lives. It's certainly going to change the way we think about meetings, conferences, and business travel. Of that, I'm certain. We'll see other changes become permanent as well, such as the sense of global solidarity that we have enjoyed. We're all on the same team, fighting the same enemy, except when it comes to sharing scarce PPE, of course. But despite that, we all seem to be pulling together, treating each other with unprecedented empathy and connecting in meaningful ways. When I made a few notes about 10 days ago, thinking about this event, I also noted that I hoped this represented a permanent return to science. I was going to talk about how this has been a blow to fake news and populism and a return to science-driven decision-making. At least that's the way it seemed. And then over the past week or two, the government decisions started looking anything but science-driven. I understand that the president is likely to address us tonight, so let's hope it's an opportunity for him to regain our confidence. Certainly we will see, and we will more and more of the online world surging, online shopping, online learning, online entertainment, even online socializing and online dating, or so I'm told by a friend of mine who's been experimenting a little bit. On a positive note, could these changes also be dramatically better for the environment, permanently reducing carbon emissions to a low base? But I think I'm getting too far ahead. Before we begin to celebrate some of the beneficial changes that we might see, we need to overcome this enemy. And even when we have this enemy defeated, and that might only be in late 2021 or even into, sadly, we will have a new global enemy to deal with. And it will come in the form of crisis-inflicted unemployment, poverty, hunger, and malnutrition. And I think we will all have to pull together once again as a global community to defeat this new enemy. Innovation, including technology-based tools and our new learned ways of working, are going to be, I think, the new essential services that will enable the necessary global effort. And nowhere is this going to be more important than right here in Africa. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Karen. And thank you to the whole Plug and Play team. If we've got time, I'm happy to take a few questions.
Thanks so much, Nick. There's a lot of questions that have come up. We only unfortunately have time for one question. One which struck out at me that I thought to mention to you is there's a question about your perspective of the role of technology in helping the unemployment situation that we're facing in South Africa at the moment. If you could maybe just touch on that.
Yeah, thanks, Grace. I mean, I think that it's a truism to say that jobs are not created by corporates or governments. And we've seen that painfully as the case in South Africa over the last little while. Jobs are created by small businesses, by entrepreneurs. And so technology and all of the business opportunities that it spawns, I think is a fantastic and a necessary way for us to deal with the massive numbers of newly unemployed that we're going to see following this crisis. And so I think we need to be doing everything that we can, and I think that Plug and Play is a fantastic platform for this, and I applaud the work that Plug and Play does. We need to be doing everything we can to support small businesses and to ensure that entrepreneurs are given the lift that they need to become successful. And the unique aspect of technological entrepreneurs is that it's only through technology that you can have an impact on millions, if not billions of people. It's the one way in which an entrepreneur can launch a business and make an impact on a global scale. And so I think with all of the disruption that we have seen already and with all of the ranks of the newly unemployed, I'm hopeful that we're going to see some amazing stories emerge of young, smart people that change the world with their ideas and through the use of technology.
Thank you so much, Nick. I think safe to say we all really share the same sentiment as you. We really appreciate you taking time out of your very busy schedule to be with us today. Thank you very much, Nick. We will now move on to tell you more about Plug and Play, as well as Plug and Play's plans for South Africa and the African continent. First, more about Plug and Play overall. As briefly described earlier, we are an early stage investor and innovation platform bringing together an ecosystem of change makers, all with the aim of helping new technology get to market faster. In coming to South Africa, our focus will be centered around helping corporate South Africa work with startups in the execution of their innovation strategies. Think of us as a helping hand for a South African corporate to become the next Naspers in finding their 10-cent unicorn. We also want to help talented African startups grow to become global companies that will help drive our economy and create the jobs that we so desperately need, as Nick mentioned. This is also a call to action to ensure we don't let innovation and entrepreneurship die in the wake of the unprecedented pandemic we find ourselves in. Whatever stakeholder you identify yourself as on screen, you all have a role to play, and we would like to play our part in bringing innovation stakeholders together for the betterment of the African continent. Our core innovation platform can be summarized in 3 categories: venture capital, accelerator programs, and corporate innovation. Starting with our venture capital offering, Plug and Play has been investing in early stage investments for over 20 years. Today, we invest in approximately 300 technology companies worldwide alongside our VC partners. Our key value proposition in the venture capital segment is being a global investor for startups that have global ambitions. We have appetite to take a risk on entrepreneurs that are committed to taking a risk on themselves. Looking at a snapshot of our global investment portfolio, we currently have over 900 active investments. Almost a dozen have grown to become unicorns, exceeding a $1 billion valuation. Just last week, Plug and Play's newest ed-tech unicorn, Applyboard, raised $75 million in Series C funding at a $1.4 billion valuation. In Africa, Plug and Play is currently invested in Flutterwave, WorldCover, and Helpline, amongst others. We hope that our South Africa plans will be a springboard to invest further in African technologies that can be just as successful locally as on the global stage. Our accelerator programs are fine-tuned for startup business development. Startups are at the very heart of our innovation model. Here, our key value proposition is geared towards assisting B2B enterprise startups to work with corporates in the pilot and scale of their product offerings. It also aims to assist startups in connecting with investors and seasoned industry mentors willing to give of their time. Uniquely, our model does not require startups to give up equity, as it ensures corporate startup stakeholder alignment. The value proposition for the startup is that we are giving them a global avenue to generate revenue and gain broader market exposure. And last but not least, corporate innovation is focused on finding and implementing technologies that address corporate innovation needs. For Africa in particular, our value proposition is to provide a service offering that will help corporates learn how best to work with startups. Without the support and participation of corporates, startups cannot survive. We are thus not only inviting corporations to benefit from these technologies, but asking that they be leaders in ensuring a thriving ecosystem for the betterment of the entire community. I'd like to take the last few minutes to explain what we want to offer South Africa and how we intend to deliver on it. In terms of what we intend to offer, in steps 1 to 3, for corporates, we would be providing a hand-holding approach to help execute your custom innovation strategy. A key element of this is what we call deal flows, where we use every resource at our disposal to bring and implement best fit solutions to priorities that either you have identified or that we have identified together. In the spirit of global collaboration, we would look to utilize our corporate partner network and have roundtables where you can get exposed to best practices. We would help host internal innovation sessions to help instill a culture of innovative thinking across business units. In step 4, for startups, we would showcase Africa's highly sophisticated corporate sector, showing mature international startups not yet familiar with the continent, the depth and breadth of opportunities that exist in Africa. In our startup lineup today, we have one such success story of a US startup that came to South Africa in November last year, ran successful pilots with our local corporates, and is now looking to hire locally to help in servicing their customers. This is case in point on how this benefits the economy. Dictating the SA program in step 5 brings our corporate partners together to decide what a proudly South African innovation platform will look like. Through open innovation and non-competitive collaboration on areas of common interest, participants can benefit from economies of scale and knowledge sharing. Typically, steps 1 to 5 culminate in an expo, an occasion that showcases and celebrates the successes that have been achieved to date. Expos promote an innovation cultural shift within the corporate, the tech industry, and community at large. In terms of how we intend to deliver, it will be by 1, leveraging our global platform and promoting inclusion, 2, the breadth of our verticals, and 3, a dedicated and localized team. In leveraging our global platform, gone are the days, and involuntary so in this case, of having to travel 24 hours simply for exposure to innovative international ideas. With a very custom tailored approach, we will leverage our global locations, our colleagues, and startup platform to bring innovative solutions to your doorstep. SA corporates have informed us that they feel local startups tend to be too early stage to work within a large corporate environment. We want to promote talented African startups to join our global platform and to mature with our international corporate partners who have greater appetite for earlier stage technologies. For startups, this opens doors to engage with our global business development programs. Our platform encompasses 17 verticals that touch upon all major economic sectors in South Africa, such as food, health, energy, and financial services. Most recently, we have been working with government, corporate, academic, and foundation partners to support with their immediate and future concerns regarding COVID-19. Our social impact program began with our partnership with the US Department of Health and now includes multiple entities with common and unique priorities as we adapt to the new normal. Upon personally landing in California and finding myself on lockdown here at the moment, I have been getting exposed to a mind-blowing amount of COVID-19 related solutions that can assist with some of the pressing healthcare issues at hand, as well as other industries most affected by the ripple effect of this pandemic. We have seen huge potential for these startups to pilot, commercialize, and/or scale in South Africa. And we hope to bring these technologies to market faster to help people. In that same breath, as you will see in our startup lineup coming up next, there are great startups from our very own African continent that ought to have global mics to showcase their potential. Along with representation from the US, we have startups from Nigeria, Egypt, and South Africa. I do encourage you all to stay tuned until the very end to see them in all their glory. And lastly, we have a leadership team that is very invested in the success of launching Plug and Play South Africa. The current core working team brings an array of experience from Africa, the Far and Middle East, the Americas, and Europe. Shout out to Sohail and Karen, who've been key in our business development efforts across the continent. As we grow and secure our South African corporate partners to service, we commit to invest in local SA talent to help source startups and continue to provide quality service to our partners. So please do get in touch. Whether you are an early stage startup that has a minimum viable product that you can demo to us and hopefully also generating a little revenue, or a B2B enterprise looking to work with corporates in the pilot and scale of your product offering, or a potential corporate partner looking to innovate. This is a call to have the first 5 South African launch partners to come along on the journey with us. You don't want to miss out. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Grace. So with that, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone joining us today from around the world. My name is Ava Ascari. I run the Startup Accelerator program for our health vertical here in Silicon Valley, where we're headquartered. So we're excited to segue now into our startup pitches. There will be 6 amazing startups that'll be presenting their COVID-19 specific use cases to you all. Presentations are 5 minutes each, and there will be a 2-minute live Q&A with each startup afterwards. So that brings me to a few of our housekeeping items. If you have any questions for the startups that you'd like to ask in the Q&A, please use the Q&A feature located at the bottom of your screen, and we'll try to get to all of your questions. There will also be a poll at the end of each presentation for contact info that'll be shared after the event. So with that, let's go ahead and dive into our first startup. Let's welcome LifeVoxel AI.
Hi, my name is Kobe Kovlan. I'm the founder and CEO of LifeVoxel.ai. We're bringing a very unique platform to the medical imaging market, namely a zero latency software as a service platform with 12+ unique cloud patents. Our company is profitable, under $1 million in annual recurring revenue and growing. Our margins are greater than 90%, and we're seeking capital to fund growth. Our competitive advantage is enhancing access, speed, and clarity while reducing costs. So using email address and password, you can just log into our system. First, I'm going to look at an example of a stroke case where I need to open these large medical imaging, which is a CTO angiogram. Normally, it will take a long time to download and view, but with our system, you can open it and view it instantly. So not only can I look at the grayscale images, I can take that image, and since I'm looking for stroke, I'm really interested in looking at the vessels. So I can, within seconds, get into the blood vessels and see if there's actually a hemorrhage, so that I can go ahead and give a blood thinning medication called TPA. And this is the strength of our zero latency platform, where I can get access and clarity immediately. That was one case for, and since we're talking about Corona these days, here's an example of how that would look like. So again, these are large data sets. If I were to use a browser to access this and be able to make diagnosis, it would take a tremendous amount of time. So, but with our system, I can just immediately just go to the scan, click on it, and see that I can see that the lung is filled with pus. So just within seconds, I can get this information. But not only can I get that on the desktop, but I can also get it via phone. So here's how, same way we would log in through the phone and be able to open the patient and look at it. So not only can I look at the patient, I can also do teleconferencing. So I can select chat and communicate with patients or doctors on the other end while I'm looking at this record. This is the strength of our platform, because everything is rendered. And so not only can you render grayscale images, you can look at these images in full clarity. So we're providing access and clarity even on low bandwidth situation. Another thing is also telepresence. So a virtual person, a person who can virtually come in remotely, say to an operating theater, and get a full situation awareness and interact with the environment using hand gestures. They'll be able to look and touch and feel everything in that operating theater. Our partners, such as Hitachi, welcome this solution as a leading care platform for cloud on-demand imaging. The market is very large, $300 billion with 80% growth, and we think we can capture $215 million in 5 years. We have built this company on our own. This is an FDA cleared product with HIPAA compliance. It took about 115 man-years to develop the solution, working with customers one at a time. And we are currently profitable and growing with our own income. The product that we are selling in the market currently is a $60,000 per ARR, and we're selling this to 12,000 centers in the US. By doing so, we can get to about $215 million in revenue. This is our current customer base, and in 2020, we are adding a few other customers that we started implementing, and that's globally, here in the US, Germany, India, Africa, and Asia. We have a team that's pretty extensive experience, very passionate about solving the healthcare problems that we have as far as technology concerned, and our technology is protected by these 12 plus patents. We're looking for a Series A capital raise of $5 million, but in the meantime, we're trying to raise $550,000. This is a very healthy market to exit. Companies exit between 600 million to $1 billion, even as recently as 2020. Thank you for your attention.
Wonderful, thank you. Do we have Kovi on the line?
Yes, I'm online, thank you.
Hi, Kovi, thank you for that presentation. We do have a few questions for you. So first question, given that you're a relatively early stage company, could you explain why a hospital would be comfortable upgrading to your services?
Yes, so a lot of the services that we offer, in fact, that have lends itself to some use cases that other existing technology can offer. So for example, the VR telepresence or access over the phone, especially remotely now is very challenging using existing system. And therefore, there's really no other choice in the market to be able to do the things that we need to do when it comes to telehealth imaging, because these are large data sets. And so we are offering an extremely cost-effective platform that's readily available using the web browser.
Wonderful. And last question, if we wanted to upgrade your current imaging platform, how fast could you integrate your platform?
So everything is accessed over the web. We have a less than 48 hours of implementation time to get a site up and running.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Kobe.
Thank you.
Great. So up next, we have Medsaf.
Hello, my name is Vivian Nwaka, founder of Medsaf. Medsaf is a one-stop shop for healthcare stakeholders to purchase, manage, and track medication in complicated supply chains. Medsaf increases access, affordability, and quality of medications dispensed. We use the data from the movement of medications from point A to point B to help healthcare stakeholders increase and improve their offerings to the public. That could be NGOs, manufacturers, and governments. And we do this in the form of data analytics and increased transparency. This is necessary because of many reasons, but one is that 1 in 10 medications sold in Africa are fake or substandard. Medical products, they change hand multiple times, and there's just a lack of transparency in the entire supply chain. For this reason, open drug markets flourish. This is a real market here in Nigeria. Open drug markets in Nigeria can service up to 60% of West Africa. That's why we created Medsaf, one tech platform for all pharmaceutical transactions. Medsaf believes that quality medication is a fundamental human right. And we solve a ton of issues: lack of transparency, fake and substandard medication products, lack of cost-effective options, lack of availability, and lack of information in the African context. We launched in Nigeria in 2017, and we have plans to scale across Africa. Now, as far as the COVID-19 response is concerned, Medsaf's existing business model is perfect in the fight against COVID-19. We continue to make sure that healthcare stakeholders have access to quality medications, but also the masks, the gloves, the hand sanitizers, all the products that are crucial in the fight against COVID-19. They can go on our platform, it's very easy, and they can make their purchase. And we use data analytics to also aggregate demand and lower costs. This is so important right now. We're seeing sometimes a 400% increase in products such as masks. So by being able to pinpoint the demand, we can start to negotiate for lower costs for our hospitals and pharmacies. We've also heavily ramped up our access to masks and gloves and all these other tools, but we've also ramped up our vaccine response. It's extremely important that there are quality distributors in the market once a vaccine is made available. We also sell COVID-19 rapid test kits. This is important because not only, countries like Nigeria are really going to struggle with the massive population and the lack of infrastructure. So we believe that rapid test kit options are extremely important. But one thing is also that we can track those test kits from our warehouse to the patient and actually get feedback on what happened after they took the test using our tracking and tracing technology. So Medsaf is really poised to really respond to this threat of COVID-19. Another interesting thing is that lockdown now makes it harder for hospitals and pharmacies to purchase from the open drug market. And here we are, one of the very few in the market with a tech platform where they don't need to leave their office or their hospital. This means that we are really poised to take over this market. We have a track record and we have the relationships that are really important in a quick response. We've been building and strengthening the supply chain since 2017, and we are now ready for expansion. Again, we started this company because we believe that quality medication is a fundamental human right. And that's our main focus. For the COVID-19 response, this is even more important. We're seeing a lot of new entrants into the market, but we're also getting reports of fake, N95 masks and a ton of other fake products that are flooding our markets due to people wanting to take advantage of the chaos and that's going on right now around the pandemic. We're currently raising, so if you'd like to partner with us, if you'd like more information, you can reach out to me personally. We right now believe that the supply chain efficiency is of utmost importance, and we are poised to be able to offer the people the best that's available on the market, but we definitely need your help. So thank you so much, and thank you for listening to me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Vivian. We do have a question here for you. How has COVID been affecting the physical distribution of your products?
So COVID-19 hasn't necessarily impacted the physical distribution. In fact, we've been able to expand to other parts of the country due to this issue. So hospitals or pharmacies that might have been reluctant about purchasing medications online actually have looked for us and said, okay, I'm ready to give my entire business to you. So we're seeing a boom right now. Being an essential service, we're able to ship across the country without necessarily running into issues from a logistics perspective. And it's actually been, very good as far as response from all over the country as far as it pertains to working with Medsaf. So not really any restraints at this point.
Great. And we have another question here for you. So with data and Android phones being a serious issue in Africa, especially in certain locations or villages, how would these people access your services?
Well, so the interesting thing about Nigeria, I remember I grew up in the US. I remember, speaking to my grandparents, and they had to stay in line to actually use the one landline in their village. When I went to the village 3 years ago, everybody has not only just one smartphone, but two, right? So is it perfect as far as internet or data coverage across the country? Is it perfect? Absolutely not. But the stakeholders that we're dealing with, the doctors, the pharmacists, the nurses, these are probably the most educated group this is probably the most educated industry, one of the most educated industries in the African context, right? So the doctor that runs the remote village or the remote hospital or clinic in a small village in the east of Nigeria, most likely is going to have access to a smartphone to make a purchase of medications. So, when I was on the back of motorcycles in Ogun State, stopping at pharmacies to see how they were using technology, I noticed that at least one person in these small pharmacies and clinics had access to a smartphone. And when I would look at what they were using their smartphones for, a lot of the times I saw Instagram or Facebook, and even at the time, Jumia, which was a big e-commerce platform here in Nigeria. So the point is that as long as you build something that's super simple, uncomplicated, and is, something that, anyone can really kind of use, you can find success from a technology perspective in Nigeria and countries like Nigeria.
Great. And last question, really quickly, does your platform work across both public and private hospitals?
Yes, so we actually work with public hospitals. Mainly, we started with private hospitals, but we have public hospitals that we work with. Even the average person can use our platform to purchase PPE or over-the-counter select products. So it's really easy, and it's tailored to the various needs of the groups that we work with.
Wonderful. Thank you, Vivian.
Thank you.
Great. And up next, we have Visru.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. So today I want to touch on this new normal that we're in. And I believe that moving forward, doing more with less is going to be the mantra of the future. While we're still trying to figure out the long-term impact of COVID-19, many surveys have shown that these are going to be the top 4 challenges that the insurance industry will face in the short term. So as we head into a global recession, capital is going to be an enormous challenge. Right? This means carriers are going to have to slash their operating expenses anywhere between 30 to 50% to quickly stay competitive. 2, selling policy has changed forever. While brokers and insurance agents have been traditionally selling through in-person meetings and visits, social distancing has made that nearly impossible. Right? So that's going to force the insurance industry to seek new ways to engage with its customer. 3, claims have increased by 1,000% in the last few months, and it's going to continue to rise. This means the insurance carriers have to find a creative way to slash claims processing by at least 30%. And then lastly, customers are putting tremendous pressure on companies to provide discounts, payment holidays, deferrals. So the insurance industries or the insurance carriers are going to have to walk a fine line between how do I retain my customer and at what point do I not bleed so much cash by giving these discounts so I can still stay afloat. Right? So at Visru, we're excited to show you some practical ways how Visru can help you tackle these challenges and help you propel through this new normal that we're in. Right. So Visru is a zero-code environment that allows you to deliver digital processes and smart workflows within weeks. Since Visru doesn't require any programming languages, you can actually work with your business team to build smart systems in a snap. Visru automates your business operations without replacing underlying system. So remember the claims issue we talked about earlier? Some of the world's largest insurance providers use Visru's workflow to automate claims management end-to-end. Visru's workflow even approves low-risk claims on its own. So this reduces the cost per claims for the carriers from $1.45 to 45 cents. And then when we talk about brokers, well, Visru has delivered a digital point of sales for brokers and agents, a single application to onboard, process, and service their customers. This allows them to quickly adapt to the changing customer needs. This is the best possible way to sell more and spend less. The digital experience for buying policy and managing claims has proven to increase customer satisfaction by 90%. Now, capital is going to be expensive or it's going to be hard to raise. So automation will become key. Visru can automate any of your processes by utilizing OCR, AI, and more to seemingly slash your operating costs by at least half. And then lastly, Visru's machine learning-based predictive model can help propose a range of discount that would be optimal for customers to retain them without you bleeding more cash in the process. Right? So we understand that budget approval can be hard during these times, which is why we've launched our new cloud trial studio. You can get started right away with no cost. To make it even easier, we are offering free workshops with free solution guidance to customize your use cases and ensure that you are up and running and successful within weeks. We look forward to hearing from you and to lend a hand in this hard time. So if you have any questions, please reach out, drop us a line. We'll love to get to know you a little bit more. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. And do we have Visru on the line?
Hey, this is Charlie. How are we all doing?
Good, good. Hi, Charlie. So we do have questions for you. First question. What if my application's databases are legacies?
Great. So there's a quick way we can answer that. Well, part of our application, we actually have an API gateway that allows us to speak to your legacy system in its native protocol, right? So we built this from the ground up. So this has allowed us to really work well with large companies who have already invested tons of money into these mainframe system or these legacy systems. So we're asking you not to replace your underlying system, just evolve with us, and we have a way that which we can do that on top of our platform here.
Wonderful. And have you done implementations in South Africa?
We have, yes. To date, we have completed over 6 successful POCs, and currently we are actually in the process of going live with about half of those. And also in that same note, we're going to be expanding and looking to open an office in Johannesburg within, probably at the end of this year. Hopefully by then we'll have a better grip on the situation. And we're also looking to hire locally to support our customer there.
Wonderful. And what's your support model for South Africa?
Yes, so our support model is, right now we're supporting everything remotely. But I think in the coming months, as we onboard new team members, we will have, our goal is to have a team of about a dozen solution architect to business analysts on the ground to service South Africa. And then the vision is to really expand into Africa as a continent.
Wonderful. Well, I think that's all the questions we have for you. So thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So up next, we have Wasla.
I'm Mahmoud Saeed, co-founder and CEO at Wasla Browser, and our goal as a company is to subsidize the cost of mobile internet in emerging markets while simultaneously fostering digital and financial inclusion. So over the past 3 years, 85% of global growth in mobile internet subscribers has originated from emerging markets. That's almost 1 billion people. But the problem is that for the vast majority of the population, internet access remains unaffordable, with the average individual in Africa taking over 29 hours of work to be able to afford just 2 gigabytes of mobile internet, and that's compared to only 40 minutes in the West. This is coupled with limited infrastructure of fixed broadband or ADSL, especially in rural areas, which leaves the vast majority of the population completely reliant on unaffordable mobile internet. To put this into perspective, in Egypt alone, over 55% of households don't have access to fixed broadband and rely on mobile internet as their only source of connectivity. And that's where we come in. So we are building a multimodal business model with multiple revenue streams and 3 key product verticals. Introducing Wasla Browser, which is a mobile-first web browser that leverages digital advertising with the simple value proposition of browse, collect, redeem. So think of your typical browser like Google Chrome, Safari, or Firefox. What we've done is that we've gamified the browsing experience. So anything the user is doing online, whether they're spending time on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, studying, or any website in general, they start collecting points, which they can then redeem for free mobile internet bundles directly from their Wasla wallet. The second point of differentiation is how we tailor the experience to the emerging market discover audience. So now we introduce Wasla Feed. So let's take a step back and think about the first online experience for the users we're targeting. So browsing habits in emerging markets are substantially different than that in the West. So for the majority of our users, their first online experience was predominantly 1, mobile first or mobile only, and 2, social media first. This led the majority of the population coming online to be more acquainted with the notion of discover versus the notion of search. To localize the experience for the emerging markets, we cater to the mobile-first audience by adding discover features powered by our very own recommendation engine, which starts to recommend everything like typical content such as articles and videos, but we take it a step further to include games, music, social media posts, websites, and most importantly, digital services powered by affiliate partners. So what's the last piece of the puzzle? Wasla Cash. Wasta Cash is a native payment option, which allows users to transact online and offline with a click of a button, and all of this comes with financial inclusion at heart. So since day one, we've been slowly building the habit and trust of transacting online through free airtime redemptions earned from Wasta browser. Once we build that trust, we will start to avail easily accessible cash-in options for our user base by leveraging a growing partnership with our strategic investors that gives us access to over 150,000 points of sale where users can cash in and cash out. So for COVID-19, we aren't changing much except accelerating our affiliate partner vertical to capitalize on the shifting trends towards e-commerce. So what we basically do is partner with the best services for key verticals, including healthcare, food delivery, transportation, education, and entertainment. Then we start recommending these services to our users when they are in the market for it. All of this is powered by our data-driven approach and machine learning capabilities. So now more than ever, the underserved users of the emerging market populations are looking to shift their habits toward digital. So what we continue working towards is subsidizing internet access in order to support the transition, all while bridging the digital divide through fostering financial and digital inclusion. So we were able to drive incredible growth since we launched in December 2018. Initially, we were planning to acquire around 10,000 users within 6 months just to test the platform at scale. Luckily, we were able to achieve that in the first 2 weeks completely organically. Ever since, we were able to scale our platform to almost 200,000 users. 85% of that still remains to be organic acquisition, which translates roughly into around 70,000 monthly active users. We've also been successful at tripling our daily engagement, where users initially were spending around 14 minutes a day on the platform, and now they're spending almost 45 minutes per day. We've also been able to sustain 25% month-on-month growth since launch, and ultimately achieving an LTV to CAC ratio of 11 times. Our North Star KPI, which is the percentage we're able to subsidize from our users' data cost, was also maintained at very, very healthy rates. So in Egypt, the average individual consumes almost 35 pounds of mobile credit a month. And what we've been able to do is reward these users with almost 30% of their average monthly bill. We were also successful in growing our team to 35 members and received some notable recognition from the World Economic Forum and the European Bank for Development. So to tell you more about the founding team, we've all been friends for over 20 years. I myself was an investment banker for 7 years, where I worked on a number of M&As and IPOs. Sorog and Taimur have more of a joint experience, where Sorog started his career as a management consultant at Deloitte, and Taimur headed himself directly into the tech space, starting his career at TaskSpotting. They both went on to join Rocket Internet in Dubai, where they successfully launched and scaled the food delivery platform, which then later merged with Talabat. We've also been lucky in attracting very good talent from the market as we continue to build the company and our vision. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed. Best of luck.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mahmoud. Do we have you on the line?
Yep, I'm here.
Wonderful. So we do have a few questions for you. So first question, what round are you and how much are you raising?
So currently we just closed our seed round towards the end of last year. Right now we're gearing towards a Series A round towards the end of towards the end of this year, but we are in the market for a $500,000 bridge round.
Wonderful. And then how active are your users when it comes to e-commerce?
So on average, our users complete almost 5 e-commerce transactions per month. We believe that once we combine our native payment option with our current value proposition, we will be able to capitalize on all of these lost opportunities as we slowly start to avail more partners on our platform.
Wonderful. Well, we have another question from the audience here. Has Wasta worked in South Africa? We're keen to collaborate with our green projects.
So South Africa is definitely on our radar. We haven't still launched there. Probably actually Vivian, it's interesting that Vivian from Medsaf had that question regarding data calls in Nigeria. And I think for us, probably the next move is more towards Nigeria. But hopefully we should see rapid expansion across Africa across the coming periods.
Wonderful. Well, great. I think that's all the questions we have for you today. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. So let's go to Vula Mobile next.
Hi, my name is Dr. William Mapham, the CEO of Vula Mobile. We set out to solve the problem of poor communication between health workers and specialists. This was the road to my first job. My real passion is improving healthcare in rural and remote areas. We went there as junior doctors, determined to do our best, but we had no access to specialist advice. To make matters worse, it was a long journey for any patient to visit a specialist, so we had no real easy referral system. The solution was Vula Mobile, the e-referral app and its online system. Here's an example of us trawling the communities looking for patients with conditions, and then also linking them to specialists in far-off cities. What makes Vula unique is that we've designed it to scale. We started with ophthalmology in 2014, and it's now available in 44 specialties from cardiology, dermatology, emergency medicine, psychiatry, and many others. The number of healthcare workers using Vula has grown dramatically, and we went over 12,000 earlier this year. In addition, 225,000 patients have now been helped, and we've got over 1 million images that are now available for data analysis. The Department of Health in South Africa loves this, and they're now rolling it out across the country. Last year, we also won the Best Health App Award for South Africa. So what we've done is we've surrounded every single rural health worker, remote health worker, or in fact any general practitioner, any nurse, with a whole suite of specialists, so they can now offer specialist-guided healthcare wherever they are. Then COVID happened. What we had in our resources is we had a wide network of specialists and a huge network of healthcare workers. We're also relatively well known in the public sphere. Within the first week, we set up a crowdfund so that we could help protect our health workers by giving them the equipment they needed. In 1 week later, we set up an expert helpline. This was a helpline manned by corona experts who were then actually able to advise any healthcare worker using Vula, so that all healthcare workers could basically access a specialist opinion. 1 week later, we launched the public helpline. This was a helpline where any member of the public could phone in, and we had a team of 400 volunteer doctors answering questions, so the public themselves could also get the exact information they needed. The information pouring in, 1 week later, we launched the COVID testing app, which shows in real time where all the testing sites are in the country, from private to public, and even to individual general practitioners doing testing in their communities. Over this time, we also ran campaigns for the public. There's a well-known TV show called Carte Blanche. We partnered with them to inform them about COVID and things that they can do, from hygiene, making their own masks, and what they can do to help people around them. More and more data is pouring in, and in the weeks to come, we hope to use our data to make evidence-based decisions about how we can next adapt to the COVID pandemic. But let's take it one step down. This is a picture of my brother and his girlfriend. They both had COVID. Claire was very sick, but luckily she recovered. This is a picture of my dearest mother-in-law. She's very frail. She has multiple medical conditions, and we love traveling with her. And we're going to do everything we can to protect people like her from COVID. So thanks very much. This was Vula Mobile.
Wonderful, thank you. And do we have you on the line?
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, so we do have a few questions for you from the audience. So first question, have you faced adoption challenges when engaging with healthcare professionals, and how have you overcome hesitancy to adopt telemedicine solutions?
I think a lot of the hesitancy around telemedicine was that it required two professionals to be on the phone at the same time, which in our setting is virtually impossible because both the health worker and the specialist are working at the same time. So our system works asynchronously. You can call directly, but mostly it's asynchronous. And the nice thing about that is that it actually solves the problem rather than creating a problem. So I think that's one of the reasons why we saw adoption. Also, the fact that the app is free to download, free to use, uses 25 times less data than WhatsApp, meant that there were no data obstacles. And so people have adopted it quite quickly.
Wonderful. And what is your growth plan going forward? Are you looking for strategic partners, and what kind of partners would be valuable to you at this stage?
So currently we're working with corporates as well as with the government. Corporates like NL and First for Women are sponsoring the mental health portal on Vrula that targets health workers so they get the support they need. Other companies like Sanofi, because healthcare carries on. A lot of people realize, COVID's happening, but there's a lot of other healthcare issues, for example, tuberculosis. And Sanofi funds the TB portal on Vrula to make sure that it grows and helps all the patients with different conditions. And so we'd like to partner with corporates. And if you are a funder, we partner with the Clinton Foundation to roll out general surgery and oncology services. So whoever you are, whatever your interest is in healthcare, we can probably find a way to work with you.
Wonderful. And last question, what is your revenue model on the app, and what round are you? So we've got three revenue streams currently. One is the software as a service. So for example, we've got the referral tender for the Western Cape province, which is one of the 9 provinces in South Africa. And we've also got advertising contracts. So for example, Sanofi target the professionals referring TB patients. The nice thing about the advertising is that it's very, very curated. So if you refer a TB patient, you get information on TB medication and TB techniques to use for your patients. So that's quite nice. And the third one is data science contracts. So we've currently got 2 with 2 universities. And we think that that revenue stream will grow over time. Wonderful. Well, great. I think that's all the time we have for questions. So thanks for joining us. Thank you so much. Wonderful. And last but not least, we have our last startup, Lifty, from South Africa. So take it away.
Hi, my name is Teppo, co-founder of Lifty, based in Johannesburg, South Africa. Lifty is a lift club or carpool app that matches car owners and passengers traveling from the same neighborhoods, traveling in the same directions at the same time. Our service ensures that passengers can travel short or long distances reliably, affording them the convenience of sharing fuel costs with other passengers and the driver. As a driver, you offer your empty seats to passengers, reducing your monthly fuel costs. The problem we're solving for is for drivers as high fuel costs, traffic and parking challenges, passengers, time, convenience, and comfort, governments, traffic congestion, carbon emissions, and parking concerns, and for corporates is staff wellness and parking lot congestions. So what happens is you download our app from the Google Play Store or Apple Store. You sign up as a driver or passenger, complete your profile with name, photo, email, and telephone number. You upload all your KYC documents, which are your ID and driver's license if you're a driver, which are all verified with relevant authorities within seconds of joining the platform. Secondly, then you create your trip. You enter your home and work location or destination, set your departure and return times, enter your preferences such as luggage, size, if you're a smoker or not, post your ride offer or lift request. We've got other options such as request female-only trips, share your ride with friends on social media, and so forth. The third step is you find your match. You'll be notified when Lifty finds you a match. You review suggested matches based on preferences, chat to potential matches, choose a match, and you'll be set to go. When each trip starts, you share your lift to work and back. You view a live map of the driver and passenger in real time, chat and call within the app to coordinate your trip, pay using your check and credit card securely within the app, and after each trip, you rate the trip. Now, for this exercise of COVID-19, we've started a campaign called Each One, Lift One, which is a smarter work commute, looking at the impact of mobility during a pandemic. So businesses are the lifeline of our economy, but without people, operations would be significantly compromised. Now, during this unique time in history, organizations must put the health of their people and all South Africans ahead of its own needs. A balance needs to be struck between job preservation, promoting safety, and ensuring business continuity. As your organization transitions back to the office, take a moment to consider the impact of staff mobility in arriving at the office. While some have the luxury of private vehicles, many don't, meaning the work commute poses a threat to the health and the health of all those they encounter throughout the day. That's why all employers and employees need to unite and share responsibility in helping how we all move those who can't afford to stop or work from home in a way that limits the risk. So we need to move society, move our staff, and move each other. We believe that if each one lift one, we can all move forward together and safely. So this is not a statement, it's an invitation to join our Each One Lift One carpool initiative, protect your organization, protect your staff in transit, and ultimately protect yourself. So the objective of the campaign is to cut the link in the chain. So the illustration on the right shows the typical journey of somebody taking public transport to work, where the risk of exposure is exponentially increased because during transit, you're in transit with 16 or plus people in a bus or a mini taxi. When you get to the transit station, there's thousands of people during peak hours. So by the time you reach the office, your risk of exposure has been very high. Whereas if you jump into a carpool with a colleague or a neighboring colleague from a neighboring business, you reduce that risk exponentially because you're exposed to two or three people per trip on your way to work. So what we're encouraging is that if 10% of single occupant drivers can give one colleague a lift, we can exponentially reduce the risk of exposure. So what we wish to establish is a partnership with South Africa's largest employers to support the Each One Lift One campaign as an innovative yet practical way to contribute towards the fight against COVID. In support of the initiative, we're requesting each corporate partner to pledge 60,000 rands or 10,000 rands per month for 6 months of the campaign. To encourage internal uptake, we encourage corporate partners to commit rewarding employees with some form of incentive. So this money will go towards the operational costs of making the carpool application for free, meaning that we as Lifty are going to provide our platform with no commercial model. So we will not be charging any commission fees as part of our contribution, but we obviously need to cover our operational costs. So this will include all communication awareness campaigns to educate staff and the public on the initiative and a dedicated customer support line for the campaign. So reasons to partner is reducing the risk of all staff members who use public transport, staff wellness, and as a corporate social responsibility in this case. So what you'll get is your company logo included in the Each One Lift One website, co-branded communication packs to be rolled out internally. We'll collaborate with your HR team to launch the campaign to your staff, and then cross-network carpool participation with neighboring businesses. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. And do we have you on the line?
Yes, you do. Sorry for that.
Hi there.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Yeah.
Great, so we do have a few questions. So given the crime issue in South Africa, how does Lifty ensure safety for riders or passengers? And do you have any partners to address this?
Yes, we actually currently do. We've got an API that connects us to the Department of Home Affairs for something we call True Identity. So when you join our platform or you sign up or before you can take a trip or match with somebody, you have to provide us with your ID number and as a driver, your driver's license number, which within a few seconds is verified with the Department of Home Affairs database.
Great. Next question, what was your experience running a mobility startup in South Africa?
I think it's been very interesting and challenging because we haven't had many people before us, so we don't have many people to look for in terms of advice and so forth, but particularly around the fact that we're building a two-sided marketplace. So it takes time in order to build up the business or build up the marketplace. And for that, you actually need funds. So a startup like this has no short-term payback, but we've seen that there's demand in the market for the product. It's actually pretty obvious. So it's just a matter of will we have the financial stamina to see our platform or marketplace grow.
Wonderful. And last question, what assistance do you need to grow this initiative?
Particularly for this initiative, we're looking to invite as many of the South African corporates, obviously as we ease restrictions going down the different levels from lockdown. More and more employees will be going back to work. And particularly based on what I presented, we're offering our platform for free, meaning that there's no commercial model from our side. So we just need a subscription model for each corporate to contribute. And basically we can onboard the staff and help move people safer during this pandemic.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Teppo.
Thank you.
That about wraps it up. Great. And that concludes the end of the startup pitches. So a few things before I let you all go. Plug and Play is hosting and continuing our COVID-19 webinar series. So here you'll see the list of the upcoming webinars. So there's one from our APAC region on the impact of Asia now and beyond the pandemic. And then we have an enterprise-focused webinar on the impact on the future of work and workers' compensation. And then we have a fintech focused webinar on the CARES Act and lending. So thank you all again from all over the world for tuning into this webinar. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Grace. So she's the country head for South Africa. So feel free to reach out to her if you have any questions, and we hope to see you all soon. Take care.